I believe in local. I hope you do too. The problem is local's not easy. Sometimes it's easier to get big and kind of forget about local and take away some of those things that we count on. Local radio is one of those things, and we're going to talk about that next. I'm a big supporter of Christian local radio, and Bill Montgomery is our guest next from the River on Purpose Under Pressure. The heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people, business folk, just like you and me. We wake up in the morning, we swing our legs out of bed, we put them on the floor, we go after something that's important to us, and then the pressures come up and they try to knock us down, and whether we stay down or whether we get up and fight and how we fight. That's what this show is all about. It's called Purpose Under Pressure. If you like this show, please do so officially. You can like us, you can follow us, you can subscribe, tell a friend, tell your mom, anybody that you share about this show. You're helping us spread the word. You're helping us make a difference. It's why we do this, to help to motivate and to help inspire other business people, other business leaders to accomplish hard things during hard times. That's Purpose Under Pressure. It's brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations. They're also in Jacksonville, Florida. They offer sales training and business growth for business leaders, owners, salespeople, anyone that's in charge of or is defined by revenue generation, relationship building. That's Sandler Sales, and that's the way it's done at the Ruby Group with the highest professionalism. I'll tell you what, folks, if you just call, if you just reach out, if you just talk to someone there, if you never buy a thing, it'll be worth the call. Maybe one of the best calls you ever make, because there's just so much right about what they're doing at Sandler by the Ruby Group. So check them out, would you please? They are online at therubygroup.sandler.com. We thank them for their partnership in Purpose Under Pressure. I'm excited today, maybe even more than you. I'm glad you're there, but this show's all about me, and so I'm excited to talk radio. I've got a long history. 20 years is long to me, and kind of a blood flow of radio. It's just what I was kind of always meant for. The world changed a little bit. I'm not in it anymore, but man, I love it, and I love to talk about it. My guest today is Bill Montgomery. He's president and CEO of River Radio. That's a network of 15 local, community, nonprofit, and commercial Christian radio stations. A lot of purpose there, and we're going to talk about it. A lot of pressure. He's also an adjunct professor at Cedarville University. Bill Montgomery, welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Thanks so much, Bryan. It's great to join you and your audience today.
I'm really glad you're here. I love talking about radio. I don't know if everybody does, but man,
I'm with you. I certainly do.
Yeah, and radio's changed a lot, and I don't know if people probably aren't paying a lot of attention, but it's gone from having local DJs everywhere and local salespeople and local teams, and it's gotten very big, and yet the effort is still there to keep it local and keep it strong. And I know that you're behind that. So we're going to talk about that. And Bill, if you would just kind of brag to me a little bit about, what is River Radio? What are you accomplishing there? Tell me something good and tell me something on purpose about the River.
Absolutely. We are a nonprofit organization, as you mentioned, out of Columbus, Ohio, but we have recently grown in the past year from just about 4 Central Ohio community stations to about 15, as you said. We did an acquisition in the Worcester area about a year ago, and then at the end of last year, joined another group of 9 stations all around. So we're kind of northeast, northwest, central Ohio, maybe as far south as Chillicothe, but our primary format is contemporary Christian radio, and we've got local DJs in our community. In fact, we're probably one of the largest staffs of a local radio station in our format, as you said, because radio has been one of those things that's consolidated a lot. And so just proud that we've been able to have local DJs in the community, as well as sales staffs and digital staffs and so many other things.
And I think it's so cool that you're able to do it because, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, Christian radio stations aren't always the highest rated, like the most listeners. It's not like it's competing against a country station or a pop station where all the people are and often all the money goes. And yet you're able to grow in this environment when you're not the number one station in the market. How does that work?
That's a great point. I think There's a few markets where Christian stations are number one, but I think it's rare.
Really?
And we are. It is not something that we are in Central Ohio or even up in the Worcester area. We do well, but we're not number one. So I think a lot of it is just being creative in how you get your funding, as well as trying to be efficient as you can with your staff, with your resources, and not try to overspend. And sometimes you get, you've got a bigger budget and you can do more things, and sometimes the budget lower and you've got to make cuts. And usually we try to value the people over the other things and try to cut them last, if at all.
Yeah, just like business, right? It's all the same. We got to figure out how to make things work so we can keep the doors open tomorrow. Is it difficult to? Well, let me ask it this way: what are you trying to do at the river? Are you trying to generate revenue? Are you trying to make great radio? Like, what's the mission of River Radio?
Our mission statement, and I'll have to unpack it a little bit, is to show people who Jesus really is. As a Christian nonprofit ministry, but kind of unpacking that a little bit in there, we are trying to be involved in the community. We're trying to engage in people's lives on the air. So as a listener funded and business funded, we're trying to, make sure that we've got enough money to keep the lights on, the doors open, put money away for unforeseen circumstances, but basically just not lose money, and not operate at a deficit. And so missionally, we're trying to serve our community. Sometimes it's entertainment, and sometimes that's fun and laughs. Sometimes that's, hope when things are difficult. And we're trying to do all of that all the day. We've got chaplains that are there for people to call when they need somebody to pray with. We've got a prayer wall. People can anonymously or not anonymously leave a prayer request. We're, at the local Chamber of Commerce event. We're also, in the 4th of July parade. We are at a church vacation Bible school. We're, at anything we can do to be in the community and just love people and be there when they need us. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
And when you talk about that, that's what drove me into radio in the first place, was the local part of it. The fact that I could communicate with people and they could communicate with me. And there was a little ego too. You could go around and people would know you. And it was just, how can we all do this together? And I think I've brought that into the rest of my life in a different way. But radio can lose that local when it gets real big. And we've seen that. And yet you're staying local. How are you able to, and I think it's important that you stay local. If that's what your mission is to bring Jesus to people. How are you able to do that? What are the challenges that come into play? What are the pressures that are kind of getting in the way of the purpose here? Because it just can't be easy to be a listener-supported nonprofit radio trying to keep those doors open.
Yeah. And certainly over the last several years, and we've seen some of this be a little cyclical in nature, but when you're listener supported and your average gift might be $30 a month and people are giving, you need a lot of people that are doing that. And when the economy's tough, sometimes they need that $30 for their gas tank a month. And so you have to get creative and you need people to take care of their families first. And some people also, need to trust in faith that if they, support this ministry that's helping them through difficult times or helping them, keep their mind in a good place, that's going to be money well spent. And so we've got to be good stewards of that. But yeah, it forces us to make, hard decisions of, hey, maybe we're not going to give the raises that we would like to give. And I know a lot of nonprofits face that, that are missional, and you've got people that are, saying, hey, I'm part of the mission too. And I'm going to understand when things have to get difficult like that. Or, hey, we're not going to be able to upgrade everything that we'd like to do because, the money's not there. And then when it is, because you still want to do things with excellence, you still want to do things well, and you just have to prioritize. And it's a little bit of a tightrope walk and a little bit of a faith walk as well, that you just step out and go, I think this is the next right step, and we're going to trust that we're doing it well.
And you're listener supported, but you're also business supported. And if I'm asking a question here that I shouldn't be asking, I'm digging in too deep, you let me know. But is it more listener supported or is it more business supported? And what are you doing to kind of keep both of those strong?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm in my 17th year at the station, and when I first came on, I was our advertising sales manager. And at that time, um, we were about 75% advertising funded. And
Okay.
about 25% listener funded. And there were some factors that are not largely relevant to this discussion as to why that was. But what we've seen over time is a shift where some business in the advertising world went away that had nothing to do with us. And that brought our advertising revenue down. But then we made some changes to the way we were doing our donor funding, which brought that revenue up that got us to about 50-50, which is where we're at right now. And so for us, it's, trying to be good, a good advertising place for businesses, make good, smart advertising decisions, help people grow their business so they want to be there month after month, year after year. We've got advertisers that were on before I started 17 years ago that are still there and going strong and doing well. And it's so important to keep those relationships. We absolutely want to do this. And it's kind of a same thing on the donor side is, are we meeting the needs through the music, through the DJs, through the chaplains, through the concerts, through the events, that we're meeting the needs of those donors where they see, hey, this is valuable to me, to my family, to the community, that I want to keep supporting it, and get them doing that month after month after month, as opposed to trying to, go to a new well every month and have to ask people again.
One of the things I think I shared with this with you when we were together recently, I remember when I was selling radio and we worried about cume and how many people were listening, and we were worried about average quarter hour and how many were listening at any one given time. But there was this little station, which is part of your network now, is Mansfield Christian radio station. I think it was WVMC. And I would tell my customers, I'd say, hey, shh, come here. Let me tell you something. For a couple $100, you can advertise there and you're going to support that Christian movement. But bigger than that, the people that listen, they might not be the most people, but those people are a community. They're a family and they support each other. And when you're the right type of business, talking to them about the right types of things, and you truly believe them, they will frequent your business. I would tell people, don't tell my bosses, but it's the best advertising dollar you'll ever spend. Now, is that the way it still works? It's like a tribe of people kind of supporting each other?
It very much is, and it's not, I won't say that it's that way 100% of the time, but I will tell you, we even had this experience with the format flip back in May with Worcester, and one of the clients that was on previously with the previous format into when we flipped it to the River, and it was the Temporary Christian, and they came to our rep a few months later, and they said, I've had more business since you've changed the format, and people coming in and said, I heard you on the River and I'm listening and I love it, than they did in the previous experience that they had, I think, over several years with the other station, because people just, the format is who they are, and they want to thank the businesses for supporting that and keeping that on the air. They know they're a partner of that.
Yeah. I saw it. I saw it happen. It's worked for Bryan Media Strategies as well. I've seen it actually happen. I'm a sponsor on the station, and I just know that I don't do it so that I can get people. I just know that the people that need to hear from me are listening to that station. It feels right. What are the hard parts? I mean, it sounds to me like it all just makes sense. We're trying to reach people. We're trying to reach people with Jesus. The music's just going to happen. I think God takes care of things that are important. Where does it get tough, though? As the CEO and director, I mean, running a nonprofit Christian radio station, any kind of radio station, can't be easy. Where's it hard?
Yeah. I think there's a couple places that it's hard. And I think, just in general, running a business, running a nonprofit, and I think when you're doing that well, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, you might be driving at different things, but that's never easy. Something that we have done recently, with this acquisition, with another merger, just blending cultures, trying to keep culture together, trying to merge now new locations and new people and help everybody feel assimilated. Those are challenges. And they're not things that they're new to us. I know, many companies work over multiple locations and multiple cities. It's not something that we're used to. And so it makes communication a challenge. And are we communicating well? And are we making everybody feel like part of the same company versus, well, you're the new people, but you're not part of us. And, how do you do that? And so those are things we're wrestling with, because it's not only what are we attempting to do, but is it landing well with the other people? Is their perception of what we're trying to do match our attempt?
And is that easier or harder when the people that you are kind of bringing on, they were already Christian radio stations as well. They should feel the same way, but we know that that's not. There's 150 churches in every county. Like everybody thinks a little bit different about things. How has that gone as far as keeping people together?
Looking at the typical salesperson, everything they do day in and day out, if we simplify all of that and really boil it down, they have two superpowers. First superpower that salespeople have is how they behave. Second superpower they have is what they say. As a seller, we only have two problems. We either said something or did something that we should not have said or done, or we didn't say something or do something that we should have said or done.
There's 150 churches in every county. Like everybody thinks a little bit different about things. How has that gone as far as keeping people together?
I think what has been good is, you know, we've got good people that we've worked with both in our Worcester acquisition and in our acquisition of Rise FM. That was the name of that organization out of Bell Fountain that had the 9 stations. And so I think we've had people that give grace, that are forgiving, that we've given them permission to speak up. Hey, if something's not going good, you're not going to be punished because you complained. We need to know that there's challenges. And I tell you, that goes a long way when somebody says, hey, we didn't know about this and this is frustrating, or, what's going on here? We feel like we're in the dark. And a reminder to us that, we've got to go, we need to see this from their perspective. And we've got to try and look at the world from their perspective and go, how can we change what we're doing so that it what we believe in our hearts matches through what we say out of our mouths.
Mm-hmm. And that works. I've been through a couple of mergers in different times, and it's really easy, I think, when everyone's just playing pop music. I don't think anybody really cares.
Yeah, that's
about
true.
them. I didn't care whether I was selling Clint Black or Madonna. It didn't matter. It was about whether people were listening or not. But that's not what's happening at the Christian radio station. And so I wondered what that would be like, bringing people who kind of had a passion. That's what you want. But passionate people can be, a little stubborn.
That is well said. And I think there's also an expectation of, hey, this is how I perceive Christian people to behave. And so I'm going to expect you to behave in that way. And I think some of that is very good. There's an accountability there that's good. But some of that is we may have different perceptions of what that looks like. And so sometimes they're holding you to a standard that maybe you aren't trying to hit. And so you've got to balance all of that out and try to keep people together and smiling and working well and on mission at the end.
I'm wondering if this ever happens. I know that with me, Christian radio, I became aware of Christian radio during a time when I needed to become aware of Christian radio. You can make of that what you wish, but I haven't always been as deeply a believer as I am, and a lot of it had to do with music. Music is powerful, and in so many ways, and it changes things. But Christian music, depending on what you're listening for, can really impact if you let it. Are there stories that you've heard of the way that your radio station or your people or your music has changed people's lives? Is there anything that ever been shared with you about, look, this stuff we're doing here, it's really important and it's making a difference?
We have gotten so many stories and I fear I won't be able to remember a ton of good ones, but one I heard recently that was shared by a listener. She was with her husband in the hospital at the end of his life. They had 2 young kids. And I'll shorten the story dramatically, but she was there as he took his last breath. Her young kids were at home. Mm-hmm. And, at some point you have to leave the hospital room, and she gathered her things and went out to her van. And as she started it up, our radio station was playing because that's what she listened to. And we hear this so many times, the exact right song with the message that she
Yeah.
absolutely needed to hear came on.
Yeah.
And she just wept in her car, but she knew that she was not alone, that she was, that she was going to go forward. It was just a reminder to her that God saw her and that she wasn't going to be alone. And this was a number of years ago. She's doing very well now. Her kids are doing well. And it's those types of stories where people say, this just hit me at a dark part of my life, or a time I was questioning God, or maybe I was asking if God was real. And it was there. And we've heard so many stories like that from people, that you just played the right song at the right time, and it brought the feeling that I needed in my life at that moment.
Yeah, and that's what you're all about, and that's why you're there. And I think that's why it's so important, that listener-supported aspect of it. I know that I became a listener-supporting, a supportive listener after those things happened, and I imagine these kinds of things happened as well. I'm interested, though, in the future. So the hurdles that could come, we're on a podcast right now. It's on Spotify or Apple iTunes, or they're watching it on YouTube. I mean, anybody with a microphone can have a radio show.
Yeah.
And anybody with a phone can have a Christian playlist for free. What are the challenges that you are going to have to overcome moving forward to keep things local, to keep things thriving, and to keep bringing Jesus to people?
There's a lot of challenges. Radio is still very relevant, very real, but it's declining, and it's sharing time with so many other things like, the online music services and podcasts and streaming and so many other things. And so I think, number one, it's incumbent for us as a station to be consumable everywhere that people like to consume content. So on the computer, on the, smart home devices like an Alexa or a Google Home, or, to be on maybe even the TV devices that are there, because people listen to music and things there as well, to have mobile apps so people can take you wherever they're at. And if they're, in their car and they've got a smarter car where maybe they're not using the radio as much, that you're an app there. And then also you're curating good music. Because, as much as people say, oh, I've got a million titles, sometimes we don't want to have to curate a million titles. And we want to know what's my favorite song that I love, as well as what's the new and up and coming song that I need to know. And then we've got to be on all the social medias as well, where, we're letting them get deeper into the artists. We're getting them know deeper the community. We're entertaining them. Entertainment sometimes is fun, sometimes it's serious, but it's holding people's attention. And so at the end of the day, we've got to be really good content curators. And the people, I think, will pay for that. The eyes will be there. That also allows us to bring on the advertisers. But it can't just be, kind of like I feel like newspapers did, where it was just, hey, we're the newspaper. People love the newspaper. They've always listened to the newspaper. And those that didn't evolve out of that, they don't exist anymore.
That's
so we've got to be very, very mindful of that.
Yeah. And I think that's well said. And if you could choose the direction and the path for River Radio moving forward, is it to grow into more stations in more cities and to become a bigger footprint? Is it to do better where you currently are and to maximize that? What are you trying to accomplish, in the goal setting aspect of River Radio?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of both. And I think we have to always get better at what we're doing in the markets. And that's both, to be as local as we can, where people see us as relevant, but also as excellent as we can, so that it's not, somebody's not going to listen if you're local, but you're average or below average.
That's right.
Because there's something out there that's better, that's going to capture their attention. And so we've got to stay in those habits for sure. And then I think as we dive deeper and try to capture more ears and more people listening on whatever way they are, if that leads to being able to expand our footprint into more cities that need what we're doing and not step on good people that are out there doing that already, we want to be able to do that as well, as the opportunities are there, as we have the funding, and as God gives us a blessing to do that.
At this point in the show, I ask people how they could get in touch with you and if they want to learn more, but I also want to give you a chance for a bit of a sales pitch, if you don't mind. There's businesses out there listening, and there's listeners, out there listening, what do you tell people when they say, I don't know if I need to do this or not? Like, what's the go-to argument? Because I know that there's a very important reason that people should be supporting River Radio and Christian radio in general.
Yeah. Certainly the aspect of, if this is something that has impacted somebody profoundly, that it has helped, not everybody's able to give, not everybody's able to donate. And so if you want to keep it vibrant and healthy the same way that you would give to your local church, and we encourage people to do that, we want them to do that. We don't want to be a replacement for church, but some people don't go to church. And while we can encourage them and help them, sometimes this is people's church. And so if they want to keep this lifeline and this resource out to people, it's a great thing to give to. From an advertising standpoint, not only is it doing all of those things, but there is a active, engaged, as you said, audience out there that's looking to do business with people that invite them in. And we love to help people become the company people think of first and feel the best about when they have a need. And like I said, we've got advertisers that are on 52 weeks a year and have been on for 10 or 20 years because it works and it has built them a loyal audience. And so we're happy to help people accomplish that as well. And they can do that very affordably.
Yeah, they sure can. I think they ought to at least look into it. That's my suggestion to anyone listening, is you should at least call someone and talk, because whether it works or not, or it's something that's meant for you, is a different story. But how do they do that? How do they reach out and find you, Bill?
The easiest way is riverradio.com. And there's a contact us page there. And so that's probably the simplest way. One of the things that I've done is just, I'm trying to serve the local community as well, as I write a weekly article on LinkedIn. And you can just search Bill Montgomery and River Radio, and I'm sure I'll be the first one to pop up. But that's something that I'm doing as well. But yeah, our website, we've also got a Facebook page and other social, but you can get to all of that from riverradio.com.
Tremendous. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I just want to tell folks, I want to get on my soapbox just a little bit. If you're a business owner, and I'm not necessarily talking to listener supported, you can do what you want to do with your money. That's okay. I get it. I think you ought to do something, but that's between you and God, as somebody told me once when I asked him a question. From a business point of view, I think there's two reasons to support local radio in general. I think there's two reasons to support Christian radio. I think they're the same reasons. It's got to stay alive. Whether it's local radio or whether it's Christian radio, we got to keep it here. If we don't, you see what the options are. You see the big major networks and the big major radio stations that don't know these small towns exist. They don't know Worcester. They don't know Chillicothe. They don't know Tiffin from a hole in the ground. Yeah. And they won't spend $1 in those areas, at least in my experience, to make it any different. So if you want to keep local radio and to keep that presence, and if you want to keep a Jesus presence, there's a reason there. If you don't get one advertiser or one customer from your advertising, if you want customers from your advertising dollars, I'm telling you right now, it's the best bang for the buck you'll ever find. If you're a Christian business, that doesn't mean you're a Christian business, Christian owned. If you're a good dude and you own a business, look into it, because I'm telling you right now, there's a tribe of people listening there that will call you because you're supporting what matters to them. It's a paradigm shift when it comes to advertising. When you're looking at how many readers, how many subscribers, how many clicks, how much can I get? That's not what this is about. This is about reaching the right people and providing to them the right thing that they need. It's a perfect network. And I really hope that people will reach out to you, Bill, and dig into that a little bit, because I believe in it, and I think that people should support it where they can. So that's my soapbox.
I love it. I would put that on a brochure and hand that out. That's perfect, Brian. Thank you.
You can share this show to anybody else that needs to hear it, and that is
absolutely
the Purpose Under Pressure podcast. I want to thank Bill Montgomery, CEO and President of River Radio, for being our guest. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks, Brian.
So this show is here to kind of push you towards things and to help overcome issues that you might be having, pressures you might be feeling, but also to build up those that are under pressure. I think Christian radio, I think local radio is under pressure. And if you have the means, I hope that you will support them. That is Bill Montgomery. He's of River Radio, and he's our guest on Purpose Under Pressure. It's brought to you by Sandler, by the Ruby Group. Sellers under pressure to perform, and Sandler helps them succeed on purpose. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at bryanmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. We do this every week, and we will see you next time on Purpose